TEDx talk and other speaker success strategies, we're going to be giving you proven ways of getting on the TEDx stage. You're going to hear examples of people who, just like you, had a dream. They wanted to give a TED Talk. They wanted to make a difference, and they learned how to put it together. We were able to help them do that. We want to help you, and we really want to help you in a number of ways. We're going to be talking on this presentation about how can you stand out from the competition. There are a lot of people on your topic. There's whatever you talk about, you probably have other people out there, other speakers, other authors. What can you do to stand out? Clearly, getting a TEDx talk can really help you stand out. There's competition, though, applying for TEDx speaking opportunities. We're going to give you strategies and ways to stand out and be that fresh face they want to book. We're also going to share with you things like, how does the process work? This is something a lot of people don't really know, how people get booked for TEDx events. And we're going to break that down for you. We're going to give you some real secrets for landing your TEDx talk. And a big part of it is understanding the process. And even though we're talking about giving a TEDx talk, there's actually even a bigger message here, which is the power of a TED-style talk. More and more conferences are looking for speakers who can give a TED-style talk. And frankly, just having a video, a 10-minute video where you're giving a presentation on a stage that's in that TED format can do a lot for your business, can help you get more speaking engagements, help you sell more books. We'll be talking about that. We'll be breaking down the elements of what makes a really great TED Talk. And you're going to hear from one of the top experts on landing a TEDx Talk and delivering a TEDx Talk. He's the guy who's going to give you secrets on storytelling and presentations. You're going to be hearing from Jeffrey Berwin, who will be breaking down actual things you can do to connect with people authentically, to deliver your presentation for maximum impact and influence, and really be able to connect with people. We're going to be sharing with you keys to instantly improve any talk you give. If you're, no matter where you're speaking, if you're a real pro at this, and you've been doing this for many, many years, I think you're going to find some real gems here on how you can take your speaking to the next level. The other thing that you're going to find is that you don't have to have written your book yet. In fact, getting out there and speaking, getting out there and even getting there are a lot of people that land a TEDx talk and they end up building a platform and end up even getting invited by publishers to write a book after that. This could be your first step to really getting your message out there. So again, whether you're a seasoned pro or a complete newbie, I want you to grab a pen and paper and really make sure that you're taking down copious notes, because I'm excited about this special guest that I'm going to be interviewing. And again, whether you're a seasoned pro or a complete beginner, this training will show you how to go to the next level. Now, I'm Steve Harrison. You've probably been on some of my webinars and teleseminars before. And I often say that my mission is to help you achieve your mission. And we do that in a number of ways, by either helping you write and publish your book, helping you get your message out there through publicity, through smart marketing. We also help people, for example, increase their income and their impact. I guess my claim to fame, you probably know me as the guy who helped launch Chicken Soup for the Soul and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We helped these authors get a lot of publicity before anybody knew who they were. And we've helped and advised over 15,000 authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs on how to promote themselves. And in fact, we've shown people strategies and helped people get publicity. And these are people who were unknown previously. And we've shown authors and entrepreneurs and spokespeople how to get booked on shows like CNN and ABC and Fox News and CNBC and the New York Times and Entrepreneur Magazine, the New York Post, and People Magazine, ESPN. And what we've really seen is that a lot of times just knowing a few things makes a huge difference to having the success that you want. And in fact, one of the reasons I was actually invited to give a TEDx talk myself. In fact, I was really thrilled to present on the TEDx stage, how to sell without selling your soul. I often say that promoting yourself is something a lot of times people feel uncomfortable about doing. But there are ways of approaching it to feel a lot more comfortable, and part of that is really focusing on the difference that you want to make, coming from a place of love and service. Well, when I think of love and service and dedication to helping people, I think of our special guest in this presentation. He is the man behind the curtain. He's actually just helped so many of my clients succeed, and he knows how to put the pieces of the puzzle together so that you can land your TEDx talk, or frankly get on any speaking stage that you really want to. It's Jeffrey Berwind. And Jeffrey holds the distinction of not just being one of the top experts on TEDx, how to present, how to land speaking gigs, but one of the top experts on storytelling and presenting. I'll let him tell you his story in a second, but just to give you a feel of actual proof, this is how many people we've been able to help land TEDx talks. Okay, this is actually people who, like you, dreamed of getting on the stage and being able to be on YouTube with a TEDx talk, and I think we're just getting better and better at it. He really knows what he's doing, and I'm so thrilled to have my friend here and colleague Jeffrey Berwind. Jeffrey, how long have you been working with me now?
It's almost 25 years now. It's been a quarter of a century. We started working together when we were 5.
It's just you and I have in working together, we've become friends and colleagues, and we even go on vacations together. And tell people a little bit about your story. I love this photo of you, by the way, when we put this presentation together. Talk a little bit about your background.
I love that photo too. Well, one of the reasons I love working with our clients is that almost universally everybody is trying to take their life to the next level or reinvent themselves. They've finished something, they've closed something, in many cases maybe left a former job or a former life, and they're trying to do the new thing. And I can relate to that because I was brought up I went to school as an art history major, not very helpful in business, and was really groomed to run the family retail stores outside of Philadelphia. Well, they had come to the end of their natural life cycle when I was in my young 40s. I started panicking a little bit. I had to reinvent myself. And here's this art history major, but I was brought up by my grandparents to love theater and the arts and opera. And so I followed an instinct in this reinvention period to open a theater. And that picture of me, actually, I love Italian opera, and my biggest idol in history would be Giuseppe Verdi, the king, the emperor of opera, and his life story and his achievements are unparalleled. So a few years ago, I got to go to Milan, and that's a wall mural outside in Milan of Verdi conducting and me mimicking the maestro. So that's a huge part of my life. So again, my grandparents gave me the love of both the arts and theater and also business. And way back after I got out of school, I joined the world's oldest amateur Gilbert and Sullivan opera company outside of Philadelphia called the Savoy Company, and ended up going from being an introvert in college and earlier to running that company of hundreds of volunteers doing on professional stages, professional orchestras.
So the ones that do I'm a very model.
Yeah, I would be happy to sing it, but I don't want to turn off people from watching the webinar. So anyway, that's a picture of me with some of my officers a few years ago. And anyway, a wonderful thing, and running a big nonprofit organization and taking my artistic side and the retail side.
And you're being a bit humble too, because you're leaving out, you're just in the interest of time, but you're also an award-winning actor, and you've actually won. So not only were you involved with the theater, but you won awards as a lead on the stage.
Well, I did. I got to play the ghost of John Barrymore, one of the great Shakespearean American actors of the 20th century, in a wonderful play called I Hate Hamlet. And I got to play Barrymore. I did win an award for that.
But I also bring that up because I think that the whole background of with this, and then you started a theater.
That was the turnaround for my reinvention, as I had this instinct outside Philadelphia, small town, struggling economically.
Yeah.
I thought, why not put the business and the arts together and start a small theater? But even though it was community theater, treated professionally.
Yes.
So I did that for a number of years, founded it, ran it, built it, raised a lot of money to keep it going. That work got on the radar of an organization in around 2004 called Historic Philadelphia, Inc. And that organization, founded by Ed Rendell, former governor, mayor, and then governor of Pennsylvania, was tasked to create something that back then was brand new. Way before the idea of storytelling being big for authors, business owners, executives, leaders, it's pervasive now, right? Back then it wasn't. Storytelling, what's that? Is that something we do?
We're just kind of giving them boring tours.
Right, they had a problem to solve.
Yeah.
So they partnered with the National Park Service. The National Park Service does a great job, but their task is to convey dates and facts and numbers. And unfortunately, a lot of people really turn off to the amazingness of American history. Well, this organization, Historic Philadelphia, tasked to create a program called Once Upon a Nation. And they'd heard about my work doing local theater and how interactive it was and how engaging it was. And I got to be their first storytelling and artistic director to help put together and then direct for 7 seasons this tourist project, which to this day runs all summer long in the Historic District of Philadelphia. So in this photo you see in the back are the storytellers in these green shirts, and they are trained on specific best practices of how to tell a slice of American history through a story, and how engaging it was. And those young people sitting at these benches, that we actually instituted a fun project where we are training future storytellers, little kids that compete to do it too. So that gave me the chops to help to create and then direct and then witness thousands of story interactions. And that gave me epiphanies about, the power of story. This was right before the wave. I will say I'm a pioneer in that, because very few people were working on storytelling as a way to make a dry topic compelling. And so figuring out a lot of processes and techniques, that led to, and during all this period I was doing part-time work with you and your clients, and that led to me doing a lot of other gigs as well. I got to work, I was really thrilled to work with the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. That's me with a colleague right in front of when they were taking the final shuttle off to one of the museums. I think that one was going to maybe Washington, D.C., and that's me in front of the old shuttles. And I got to do 3 seasons being flown down there by NASA and the organization running the visitor complex to train their frontline team on how to bring these incredible stories to life of people going up into space and what happened, and as a way to engage the public.
And I think it's a good point too, because whether it's history, a lot of, typically the average history teacher or tour guide is boring. A lot of times they lull kids to sleep, and yet you had a fresh approach. You created these storytelling benches where now kids were home and they were pretending
that was one of our first stories. Well, here's, again, be clear about the problem that had to be solved.
Yeah.
Here is an intellectual, important, vital topic that people were disengaged and tragically not interested in. American history, if we don't know what happened in this country, how are we supposed to be engaged today? And I would say all the speakers I've worked with over the years, one of their biggest worries is, am I really reaching my audience? I know I have to teach things, but are they compelled by it? Or are they going to check their cell phones while I'm in the midst of teaching something? Yeah. So early in, I realized, the power of story, aligned and married to the information you need to convey, but realizing storytelling is a unique, ancient, primal way to teach and convey and build community with each other, it's huge. Now, of course, we all know, oh my God, storytelling companies have storytelling vice presidents fundamentally in. So it's a core component to be a great speaker and to bring a dry topic to life. If you can't engage with an audience before you teach them, you're already behind the 8 ball.
I think that's a huge reason why you've been able to help so many of our folks land TEDx talks, because you teach them how to tell their stories authentically, but in the TED way, which we'll talk about. Also, as you listen to Jeffrey, you're not just listening to somebody with a proven track record, but he's probably the only person you'll ever find who actually has put on a TEDx event himself. And so you've been on the other side of choosing speakers. Mm-hmm. And so we want to really tap all of your experiences, get as much as we can in this time. Let's start with a top question right here. What, for just people that might need a quick review, what is TED?
What is TED? Because there is a very complex answer to that. So TED is a nonprofit organization. It began in 1984 as basically a live conference, and TED stands for Technology, entertainment, and design. It has since grown, initially those are the main topics. It has since grown to cover virtually any topic, from science to personal growth to business to music to parenting to education, you name it, self-help. And they're all about spreading ideas. In fact, their tagline is ideas worth spreading. And they're ideas that are meant to improve humanity, improve our world. So it's a nonprofit, nonpartisan. They simply want people who have distinctive ideas to make those ideas more accessible and to spark national and international conversation. So it's a global community of what I would call thought leaders all over the world and every culture. And they want speakers who can offer free knowledge, who will also inspire, intrigue, move us to action, make us curious, and build connections. And so it's a very powerful thing. Typically, what a TED Talk is it's always in front of a live audience, and it's a 3-camera shoot by a professional film and sound crew. You're on stage in front of the branding TED logo, and you're on a red carpet. You're not allowed to use notes, no podium. The talks are curated. They always say get a coach. And it should take the audience on a journey. Now, so again, TED itself around since 1984. After a while, these conferences became so popular that today, if you want to attend a TED Global Conference, which happens once or twice a year at the most, usually in Vancouver and then one other city, it's by lottery only, and the ticket prices tend to range anywhere between $8,500 and $50,000 a seat. And so they realized they were making it too hard. So in 2009, they decided to launch TEDx. And that's what you're going to be going for, is a TEDx talk. It is absolutely, in the eyes of the world, the same thing. It's simply them making it more possible, even though it's still highly competitive to get a TED or TEDx talk. At least the bar is possible now.
Yeah.
And so the TEDx simply means independently organized TED events.
And TED stands for
Technology, Entertainment, Design, but X means independently organized, local events, franchised, given licenses by TED every year.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a TED organizer, you can do so. You've got to apply to TED. You've got to show the ability to do it. You've got to follow their rules and guidelines. And they put on more than 10,000 events a year, well over 100 countries.
And as you say, they're very selective.
Very, very selective. And at this point, more than 50,000 people have shared their ideas on TEDx stages. And at this point, well over more than 1.5 billion views of these talks.
Which I think is a big thing, is, we think, a lot of times you think about landing talks, it's important to land speaking gigs. So this is the speaking gig of speaking gigs. Because I know, for example, in my case, with my TEDx talk, it's just, as I'm sitting here talking to you, someone's probably somewhere in the world watching it. And it's so gratifying to me to know that 24/7, because it's on YouTube, because it's such a credibility thing that people, and also because I worked hard with you at putting it together in the right way. This is something that we should even have. You can reach thousands, even millions of people via YouTube. Some people have reached. I've certainly reached hundreds of thousands on YouTube, and that just keeps going up. But some people have reached millions. We'll talk about them in a minute. But having that on YouTube, it's such a credential. It's really there forever.
It's there forever. That's one of the great things to realize is so many. If you're in business, or you have a mission, or you have a message, you're going to hear from many, many places. What's your platform? You've got to have a platform. What does that mean? Well, you need to maybe have a website. You should have social media. Maybe you have a book. Maybe you don't. But you need to prove that you have a distinctive credential. Unlike almost everything else, it would be great if you can get on the Today Show. I got that. Or even get on Oprah. But at the end of the day, that is a once thing. Uniquely, TED and TEDx, it's global. Your TED video, once it's uploaded onto YouTube, is always up there and can be seen in well over 200 countries. That's a unique platform that opens doors, gets you invited to keynotes, conferences, gets book deals, as you said earlier. And so that's one of the biggest benefits of landing and delivering a great TED Talk is you now have a platform very, very quickly, even though there's some work involved to get to that point.
Yeah. And I think probably when we talk about what are the benefits of landing and delivering a great TED Talk, I mean, probably the poster child of people that come to mind, and in terms of especially authors and speakers, is Bren Brown. And in what I've read, she spoke at a local.
It was Tedx Houston. It was not even at a TED Global. That's what's great about it. So be of good cheer. You don't need the TED Global Conference. TEDx Houston, and her talk has had now well over, I think, 30 million views. It's affected so many people. She's gotten book deals. She's been on Supercell. So many things have happened.
Yeah, she talking about the power of vulnerability, and you're right, from there, because I heard that she related self-published her books, and she was like marketing them out of her car practically, just trying to figure out how was she going to get the word out. She spoke at this TEDx event, Houston, and once that was put on YouTube, with her talking about the power of vulnerability, people shared it and shared it and shared it, and her audience grew and grew and grew to millions. In fact, she was invited then by a publisher to write a number of books. She's now had 4 New York Times bestsellers. You mentioned Oprah. Oprah sat down with her. But again, what if she hadn't spoken at that TEDx event?
And let me add to that, those are wonderful things that have made her a world thought leader. But of equal importance, I have personally spoken to hundreds of my own clients who would reference Bren Brown and not say any of that. They will say, watching her TEDx talk changed my life. It made me realize I don't have to wear the mask anymore. I can live wholeheartedly. I can afford to be vulnerable in order to live the authentic life. So remember, yes, you may want to get a TEDx talk to grow your business and your platform and your message, but remember, one person watching your talk, and if their life has changed, how worth it is that?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I know when I was invited to give mine, the organizer said, just give the speech of your life. And I thought, what's one of the most, what do I really believe that I want to share? And if I died tomorrow, what's a message that I would want to have lived after me? And you're right.
Well, in the audience, what happened after you do your talk? During the reception afterward, somebody came up to you.
Immediately, somebody came up and said, wow, I know exactly what I'm going to do in light of what you... I gave people kind of a certain call to action.
Well, if I remember, he said, I've had an idea, and I've been frozen for years about that, and your talk gave me permission to move forward. And that was a very intense conversation.
See what a good coach you are. You have me feeling even better about my talk.
Well, this is a special moment.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think that's one of the reasons, the other reason why you've been so good with my folks, because everybody, I found from experience, everybody watching us, as you know, wants to make a difference. They've gone through something, and they want to make a difference for people. And that's why they're writing their book, and that's why they're speaking. So it's a point very, very well taken. In fact, it's actually perfect for like this next person here, Carol Gunn, definitely comes from that whole place of wanting to make a difference. Talk a little bit about her and her story.
Yeah, she's one of my earlier clients and helping go for her TEDx talk and then helping her do it. So proud of her. It's Dr. Carol Gunn. She lives in Portland, Oregon. And she's a doctor and in occupational medicine, and suffered a real tragedy. A number of years ago, her sister died suddenly of medical error at a major famous hospital on the West Coast. And Carol is one of those tenacious people. So she as a doctor herself, she knew this shouldn't happen. So she and I started working together on first step. Even before going for a TEDx talk, in her case at least, we started working on her how to tell that story. And we practiced how to tell that story, and she saw people starting to respond. And then she actually got accepted by one of the most prestigious and hardest to get TEDx organizers, TEDx Fargo. And she did her TEDx talk. It's entitled Medical Errors, the Silent Killer in Medicine. And she did her talk, she practiced, she got through it, and stuff started happening. First of all, at this point, it has almost 60,000 views. But that's the least of it. Very soon after the talk became public, see, they film it in front of a live audience, they send it to TED for final review, and then TED itself will approve it and upload it onto YouTube about 30 days after you do the live event. Very quickly, the Portland Oregonian, the major newspaper in Portland, did a full-page spread on her because of her TEDx talk. Then the hospital, where it happened, who were more or less stonewalling her, decided they would talk to her after all and start cooperating. Then she started getting invited to conferences, and I just spoke to her a couple of weeks ago. She said, "Oh my God, because of my TEDx talk, I'm now being invited to be a paid keynote speaker." And we actually talked. She was charging a certain amount. I said, "You need to double your price." Of course, she will always do some speaking for free because she's clear that her mission is to change this.
Yeah.
But she's now having a side living on, and this is and here's what's interesting. Her talk was in 2015. It's a number of years back now. But it's just gathering, it's rolling. She's now considered a thought leader in the thing. And here's the thing. Other people are talking about medical error, but if you're going to make a decision which speaker to book, are you going to pick the one that's done a TEDx talk? Or you have that credibility because you want to attract an audience in? Or are you going to pick someone who doesn't have that credential? So I'm so proud of Carol, and her story continues to unfold and what a TEDx talk has done for her and her mission.
Yeah, and I was so struck that she was willing to learn how to put the pieces together and how to do it, how to make it happen. So, somebody else who really came from that place too was Ann Barry-Jolis. Now, Ann was a client a number of years ago in our Quantum Leap program, and even ultimately became she's a life coach, and she even became a coach. I hired her to work with some of my folks in terms of just helping them with mindset and that kind of thing. But what's interesting is she had a whole story, and part of why she began working with us is she had a book. She created a process called the GRACE process, and she had like 5 questions that she asks people. And this is something she started when her son went off to war to really find more peace, more clarity, and get in touch with us. And she decided with this process to not just write it up, but to actually create what she calls grace trails. And she worked with you, and she landed her first TEDx talk. And I know that so many things have come. She's really launching a movement of grace trails. Grace trails are opening up.
She has a whole product line now.
Has a whole product line.
Grace cards and the stones themselves, and she got a major hit on one of the hardest magazines to get an article in, right?
Yep.
Good housekeeping.
Good housekeeping. So she has good housekeeping.
And that's recently. This is a couple of years after her talk.
She has good housekeeping seal of approval.
It's huge.
And I think what she's seen, and what so many of the clients that you've worked with and that I've worked with have seen, is when you can say to someone, "Oh, here's my check out my TED Talk," and just share the video. Now, media people take you more seriously. People that want you to speak at their event take you more seriously.
Steve, we had a client who was in rehearsal for her TEDx talk recently, and simply put it out on social media as I'm at the rehearsal day, and a radio host happened to see it and booked her on the spot. She hadn't even done the TEDx talk, but simply letting people know that you are about to do it. I love it. Started opening doors.
I love it. I love it. And also, really, what we're saying in this too is learning the TED style can change your career. And what we mean by that is, if you can give a short talk that gets right to the point and has the elements of a TED Talk, well, finding as many conferences want TED style talks. They're specifically asking for it. But it also shows them that, boy, if you can give somebody a really good 10-minute video of yourself, making a couple points, telling a couple stories, giving some research, and doing it all in an authentic, entertaining way, they know, if you can do that, they know they can book you for an hour keynote. It's the ultimate proof. And so what we want to share with you in this presentation is, how do you make this happen? So we're going to actually dive in here. 3 steps to landing your TEDx talk. All right. So step number 1 is to identify the right TEDx organizer. Step number 2 is going to be to create an application that positions you as a match for their TEDx event. And step number 3 is going to be to prove to them that you can present a TED-worthy idea in the TED style, either live or by video. So let's break this down a little bit. Step number 1, we said, was to apply to a TEDx organizer. Now, talk a little bit about what a TEDx organizer is and just
TEDx organizers. So first of all, they're all volunteers. So they have to apply to TED for a license annually. Some TEDx organizers have been around for years and have a lot of experience. Some just get going. More recently, they go in and out of being active because it's extremely work intensive. And they're not allowed to, you don't get paid to do a TED or TEDx talk, nor do they get paid. So it's a highly volunteer situation. They also, an organizer, has to follow a myriad, a Byzantine levels of guidelines and procedures that TED lays down. This is how it's going to be, this is how the logo is going to be, this is how it's going to work, this is how the events will happen, this is the kind of speakers you'll do. They must follow the procedures, which is great. TED is protecting its brand and its approach. So a typical TEDx organizer will do 1, maybe 2 events a year. Typically an event that they usually call their annual conference, and maybe somewhere between 10 and 30 speakers. For that, and many organizers are going to do it by invitation only. They're going to scour the marketplace and invite people that they're interested in, or in some cases only in their local region. Not always the case. So the main thing to realize is every TEDx organizer, even though they're following TED rules and procedures, they all need to be studied individually. They have their own levels of sophistication in terms of their set and lighting and their communications. Some are more active than others. Some invite, and others will allow people like you and me to apply from the outside. So one of the first things is, who's active? Do they accept applications? And are they, about to do an event where you're welcome to either attend or speak?
Yeah, and I guess the good news is there probably is a TEDx organizer in someone's area. They're all over the world. But he or she may only need a limited number of speakers. So what you're saying is, first of all, they may not even be open, maybe by invitation only, they may not be open to applications, but even if they are,
one of the organizers I connect with is going to do an annual conference. He'll probably have spots with between 30 and 40 speakers and have between 300 and 400 applications.
Yeah.
And his speaking team is going to have to wade through these applications before they decide who they're going to accept based on a whole bunch of criteria.
Yeah. Now, here's a big secret. We promised to reveal, I think, 3 big secrets. We're even going to reveal more than that. But here's a big secret, is to identify TEDx organizers who book guests from outside their city and apply to them. There are some TEDx organizers, for example, that do take applications, that they're not invitation only. And of those, there are TEDx organizers who will book speakers from outside their area. And so it is really helpful to identify those and find them. Now, the second thing is to create an application that positions you as a perfect match for their TEDx event. So when they're going through your application, they feel, hey, you would really be a perfect match for us. The good news is you don't have to be a Nobel Prize winning scientist, but you do need to position yourself as worthy of their TEDx event. And let's talk about some common reasons that, because you've been on, you've worked with organizers, you've gone out to dinner with them, for drinks with them, you know how they think.
I produced my own event.
And you produced your own event.
Partnering with them.
Exactly. And so, in doing that, share with us some common reasons. Let's just talk about the common reasons your application might be rejected. So, as you and I were putting this together, one of the things we realized was, well, maybe you look like an amateur who doesn't know the rules of TED. There are rules.
There are definitely rules, and in fact, the 4 rules of TED right off the bat, these are 4 major rules, there's plenty of others, is no selling from the stage, no overt selling from the stage, it's about ideas. Secondly, no political agendas. Thirdly, no religious proselytizing. And fourthly, what they call no pseudoscience. They want a talk that's compelling and interesting and definitely not a lecture, but still grounded in some sort of research or studies done by you or a company you're connected to or referring to others. Mm-hmm. So looking like an amateur, you haven't really spent proper time studying the TED approach to speaking. And how do they define an idea? They are very clear how to define ideas.
Yeah.
And to study that and understand that, and realizing this is not like any other talk you will ever have done or will do.
Perfect. Next is your topic is too generic or bland.
Yeah. Well, isn't that true? We've spent how many years helping people in marketing and publicity? Same thing when we help people, pitch the media. If you're going to pitch the same old, and the media's like, well, I've already heard it 1,000 times, same thing with TED.
Yeah.
Their thing is what's new, a new perspective. They define ideas as a brand new idea or a shift in looking at an old idea, which is what most are.
Yeah.
Give us a shift. Give us something that makes us go, oh. And really, at the end of the day, what's the takeaway? Mm-hmm. What am I going to leave that talk with that will shift my way of being and improve my world?
Because you're a professional speaker offering your radio.
Oh, so often when they, in the application process, in many cases, they want you to do a short video. And I've had people, not my clients, but I've seen people just send in, some clip of a talk they did 10 years ago, and TED rejected them right away. Didn't read the guidelines, just thought, they don't, why would they book you if your talk has already been filmed and seen plenty of times? Mm-hmm. This is a TED Talk. And at the end of the day, pulling back the curtain, don't you think TED wants to protect its brand? Mm-hmm. And having this distinctive, this is new. So it's got to be, just knowing a TED Talk is unlike anything else is already going to get you in the game.
Yeah, great point. And number 4, the application just doesn't reflect you at your best.
Yeah, you're just, a lot of people just don't do it. It's like, I know one organizer said, we're being bombarded by PR firms who are just, spamming us with, you should book this one, you should book that one, and we just reject them without even reading the application. Mm. Plus, the application is typically, again, married to a short video, which is like the cliff notes of your application, and there's right and wrong ways to do that video, and you could really come off not looking, because remember, this is a speaking event, and there's an audition aspect to it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that, we're going to talk about the boo. We're also going to, here's another big secret, is to create a TED-worthy title for your talk. We're going to talk about that. I think that's one of the things that you're so great at, is helping people get focused on a title and creating a concept for their talk. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But here's another big secret. Don't let the first no deter you. Apply again. Maybe you're listening to us and you're a bit frustrated. Maybe you've applied to get a TEDx talk somewhere, and you were turned down. How dare they turn you down? Didn't they see your greatness? How could they possibly say no? Well, here's what's... well,
Ted's not your dog.
Your dog is your great all the time. And this is a story. One of our clients is Clarence Davis. And Clarence is a really gifted speaker. He was a pastor. I've heard him at my events. I had him up on the stage for just 5 minutes, and he just is so gifted at speaking and storytelling. And I'll say, Clarence, you could read the phone book. You're so good, right? And so, of course, obviously, we encouraged him to go ahead and apply. And I actually went to a TEDx event, and I saw him in the restroom, the men's room, where they were washing their hands, and I say, Clarence, what's happened? Why aren't you speaking at this event? He said, I got rejected. I'm like, you got rejected? Who would reject you, Clarence? And he's like, I don't know. I said, well, listen, you clearly didn't put it together in the right way. And
I remember his first application, which he showed me after the fact, before he and I started working on it, and it was sort of all over the place. Here's one of the hardest things which we all struggle with. We have so much, right, we could share. We're all teachers. And the number one issue for everybody is, like, which idea do I propose, and how do I get everything I know into a 12-minute talk? And that's the first mistake. You're not supposed to. So when applications go wrong, it's typically because it's not focused. Yes. It seems to be all over the place, or the applicant themselves seem uncertain, and the organizers can sense that.
And that's where you help me, because too is just, you have all these things I want to say. What's the one thing?
It's the one thing,
right? That really meets that synergy of both the audience values it the most. It will also resonate with what you're here to communicate. And anyway, well, Clarence though, I said, look, don't give up. Apply. He said, I'm not giving up. And he worked with our team, and he applied again. And I'm very thrilled to show you that he spoke on the TEDx stage at the TEDx Wilmington. And in fact, he ended up being one of the very highest rated speakers of that event. But again, it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been open to getting feedback.
And by the way, clients got a standing ovation, which is not always the case, even with the TED Talk. And he reached people so powerfully with his message about reinventing suicide.
Here's a lady you've been working with recently.
Julian Watt is one of my most delightful clients of all time, and I'm so enjoying working with her. And anyway, she lives in the West, and just delightful, and she doesn't take no for an answer. And yet, when we started working together, she says, I have an idea, but I feel a little gun-shy. I'm just not sure. It's been years since I've spoken, but I really want to share this idea and do a TEDx talk. So we started working about compassion fatigue, which is becoming a big issue. And so we identified, so one of the pieces of advice I give people is do not plan on applying to just one organizer because the competition is so stiff. You want to have a few applications out there. So Juliet and I, we started working. She applied to TEDx Colorado Springs, rejection. TEDx Mile High Denver, rejection. And sometimes the application, everything can be perfect, but they just don't want that topic. Or maybe it's a different theme. There's so many reasons which you'll never know all the way. She got rejected from Vegas, Boulder, Asbury Park, and Culver City, but she heard from TEDx Fargo, the same place that booked Dr. Carol Gunn. They are one of the hardest to land, huge audience of 2,800 people in front of TEDx Fargo. If she had given up at the initial rejection from Colorado Springs, all that did was stiffen her resolve, and she and I went back and forth to tighten the application more and more. And what's so interesting, for example, TEDx Mile High, it was an application that if they liked the application, then they would invite you to a live audition. And if they liked a live audition, there'd still be another layer. So you had to go through all these steps. It's not always that hard, but for some of them it is. So you have to go one at a time. One of our clients, if they get a rejection, they like to just say next, and you just keep going. And that's what I love to do is hold people's hands through that, because it is emotional. Oh, they said no. You have a great phrase, which so many people have appreciated, including me, which is most of us give up way too early. And Juliet hasn't.
Yeah, and if you think about, and we'll be talking about things you can do, because I think that's what you're so good at, is helping her just keep going, but also refine what she's doing in the application. And also this next phase, which is number 3, you've got to create a 2-minute video that shows you have something that's TED-worthy. So most organizers either want to see a 2-minute video, that's most common, but as you said, some will actually invite you to audition. Talk a little bit, in fact, this actually is a secret I know that we've got here in the presentation, which is, this is what you teach, is...
I'm a big believer in scripting things out. Do not speak on certain key things. A lot of speakers say, I just love to wing it. I know how to do it. I'll just need bullet points. Not for TED. This, even in the application process, there's a lot at stake here. You want to create this global platform for yourself, and it's not always a 2-minute video. Sometimes it's shorter. You have to take each organizer one at a time, but this is typical. So the way I work with people to create their 2-minute video, we actually work on the application first. A really strong idea of what the talk more or less is going to be about, because once you're accepted, then along with me as your coach, also the TEDx organizer has a speaking team, and they help, all of us help you create the final talk. In the meantime, this is to get you a yes. That 2-minute video, we script it out. My TEDx talk will be about, and we finish the script, and I approve it. Then I have people shoot it on their iPhone or something, and let me see that. I give notes about do's and don'ts. And then a final one, that's the one that gets uploaded along with the application. So I take that video, and again, this is not only my opinion and experience, this is directly from the organizers I've interviewed, is they say most people do not pay proper attention to that video. Shouldn't be professionally filmed, film it for free, but it has to be done right. And there's secrets to how to do it right, but when I coach people, I really make sure they do that.
Yeah, and doing a video just very in 2 minutes about what your talk is going to be about and why it should,
and what you're going to cover more or less, and what's the takeaway for the audience. That's a lot to get in 2 minutes, but it's doable.
When you think, I remember you were working with an expert in the parenting area where, you kind of redid her.
Yeah, well, interesting. She was also rejected the first time, not because of her application, but because of her video. And the organizer contacted me saying, listen, I want to take her, but my team is like, we're not convinced. And I looked at her video, and she's an amazing speaker and so compelling, but she didn't realize something, and she filmed the first video not as well dressed as she usually would be, and wasn't quite have makeup on, and it was just okay. It wasn't bad, but it was okay. So I had her come into our offices, and we scripted out what she was going to say, changed the script. I had her film it 3 times with me holding her iPhone. But this time she looked sharp, she had makeup on, close in, I made sure there were no distractions, and it was compelling, and her eyes were flashing, and she was looking right into the camera, and she got a yes, based on just that redone video. So I'm totally sold on the power of the video along with the application.
Absolutely. Another way I think that you're really amazing with working with people is helping them drill down and create a really great title for their talk. Certainly the concept and how it can be most TED-worthy. Let's talk about just the importance of that. I don't think people understand, how important it is to come up with something that's compelling.
Well, it's the title which is aligned with what's the idea of spreading itself. And so really coming to a focused, what is the idea we're going to share here, and the title that brings people into wanting to watch the talk about the idea. And TED defines an idea as something either brand new or new creation, invention, artistic creation, or more typically a fresh look at an old idea. So we need to think about, does it clear up a common misconception? Does the idea, why is it important? And why should I care about it? Does it stir our curiosity, the title and the idea? How is this idea maybe based on your own work, or what was the origin of this? How will it improve our lives? What problem does it solve? How does it benefit us? And we want to make sure it's not boring. Is it interesting? The other thing about the title behind the scenes is you do want it to be SEO, search engine optimized. So when people, let's say your talk is now, you've been accepted, your talk has been approved, it's now visual, it's now uploaded on YouTube and available globally. And the talk, you've aimed your talk at a certain person who's struggling with a certain problem, right? And they're sitting at 2 in the morning in their living room, just distraught, still not working out with their teenager, and they just type something into Google. How do I deal with my teenage son? And your TEDx talk pops up on page 1 of Google with a compelling title that addresses that. Guess what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. So I believe that the compelling title and the idea must work hand in hand, designed to attract attention when people eventually need help.
Yeah, totally agree. And it is an amazing way, if you've ever been frustrated that other people come up when someone Googles your topic and other experts come up before you do. Well, if you had a TEDx talk by a certain title, you're now going to come up. Your YouTube video is going to come up very often before they would come up. So really excellent. So should we talk about some examples?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, absolutely. So we've got Christine Upchurch.
Yeah, she's one of my clients, and she joined my program with one of her major things she works on is about what she calls the vibration of change. And initially, that's what she wanted to apply for TEDx. We talked about that, though. And in the back and forth collaboration, it was great. We started moving towards a whole different place. I remember she emailed me, and she said, in the middle of the night, I've got this idea. What about talking about the power of being an outsider? And I was like, Christine, I so relate to that part of my life. I feel like an outsider. I think a lot of people feel like that. That sounds like so TED-worthy. Mm-hmm. Well, let's just cut to the chase. That's what they accepted. The vibration of change may not have been accepted. It may have been too generic, something like that. But they ultimately accepted her, and the title of her TEDx talk is Feeling Like an Outsider, Embracing the Hidden Gifts. It was such a strong idea that the place of honor, so the live TEDx events are actually, if you're the last speaker, it's the place of honor. She was the last speaker. They felt so strongly about this idea.
And that's a great example, though, of change. Changing your perspective, which is a big thing that I think TED looks for. Right, is give us a new take on something that's really fresh. And Dr. Felicia Clark, and this is somebody else that you work with. Sure.
Yes, she's a former model, also a high-level scientist and everything, and she wanted to do a TEDx talk about, originally titled, Does It Pay to Be Beautiful? Okay, not bad. And it actually got her accepted. She and I have been working towards that. But in her case, the title wasn't finalized yet, and as they started helping her create the talk, and then I'm helping her react to their feedback, The first feedback she got from their team was, too many ideas, it needs to be hyper-focused, we don't think that's the thing, we think you should focus here. And so she and I went to work, we went back and forth with their team, and we focused on one aspect of her teaching, which is about the pink tax. The organizers said, well, what's the pink tax? And we ended up opening her talk with the following line. Talk about, remember earlier I said the power of the hook? The first thing, her first line in her talk is $94,000. That's how much more women pay to get ready. Well, she got everybody at hello. Final title of her talk ended up being Pink Tax and the BS in Beauty Standards. So again, she had never done a talk like this before. So we came and she got a yes.
Didn't you also do something like a visual thing?
Oh, absolutely. So also the idea of humor, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
She is fun. She even though highly intellectual, she's also great fun.
Yeah.
And Ted loves that.
Yeah.
So at the end of you watch her talk. At the end of her talk, she just quietly lifts up a little bit of her skirt, and she's wearing pink boots. Got a big laugh from the audience and a standing ovation.
That's great. That's great. And you know, here's a title that if you could imagine somebody searching, you know, you're trying to figure out what to eat, you might search for the ideal diet for humans. When you want to know that, well, Delete Goldfarb actually came to one of my events, and as a result of that, we were able to connect her with a TEDx organizer. She ended up speaking at a TEDx event, and she has gotten over 1 million views. And she's written a book called The Gorilla Diet, and she shares her story about how she struggled in this area of nutrition and how she, you know, went on a search for, you know, what should we be eating. And I think this idea of sharing stories, you know, is a huge, obviously, it's so much of what you're all about. And I think it's a big reason why you've been able to help so many of our folks just become much more powerful speakers and get booked wherever they want, whether it's TEDx or what have you. Let's talk about storytelling and creating what are called signature stories.
And this is really also, and this is stepping outside of the TEDx discussion for the moment. Storytelling within TED Talks are extremely important. And we've seen feedback forms from organizers, and people kept saying, oh my God, that story, that story, that story. Signature stories are stories that people say, would you tell that story again? It could be around your own family fireplace, but also more typically, people who want to book you to speak. Tell that story again, that story where you told of. Like for me, one of my signature stories is when I was reinventing my life and I actually bought a horse farm and the things that happened. I started a forest fire, but there was a key moment that helped brought me out of a melancholy. And that story, people keep telling me, would you tell that story again? I really remember that story. In fact, frankly, behind the scenes business-wise, your signature stories will grow your business. They're the ones that get you booked to do keynotes and workshops. Remember, as a speaker, you're not only being brought in to teach something. Yes, you are. That's the check is being written for. But let's be frank, you're also being brought in to entertain, inspire, compel, be memorable, and make the meeting planner look like a hero. Signature stories, storytelling in general, is the way to do that. I like to advise people, you start with a story, you end with a story, and in between, teach. Stories illustrate ideas. But anyway, a signature story are stories, like your origin story, your why I do what I do story, I also call it. These are the stories that you'll end up telling again and again and again, and I help people craft them, tell them the right way, and obviously polish them as they go.
And people will say, who've heard you speak maybe before, hey, can you tell that, make sure you tell that story. And one signature story you helped create was for one of our clients, an author named Aviva Goldfarb, who created something called the 6 o'clock Scramble. And this is a cool story. Share.
She came to us years ago, and one of my earlier clients was storytelling, and it was just as I was doing the Once Upon a Nation program. And she came to you, said, Steve, I'm really having difficulty. I do a lot. I already have my website, I already have my books, and I already have my business, and I do a lot of speaking, but I can just tell something is missing. I'm not making this heart connection. People are loving my advice. And so I got on the phone with Aviva at your request, and I followed, back then I was following a hunch, and I started probing, and I said, Aviva, see, here's the thing. Teaching is about the what and the how. Storytelling is about the why and the who. So I followed a hunch. I said, Aviva, so you're all about getting people to have quick meals around, dinner. Why? Oh, I don't know. So I asked her a little bit about her past. She said, well, and we developed this relationship of trust, so she did open up, and she said, well, my parents really never got along. I mean, they stayed married, but there's a lot of bickering, and there's a lot of discord in the household, and I guess, she's thinking out loud with me, the only time I think we ever had harmony was around the dinner table. Well, as the coach, I went, she hadn't seen it. I said, Aviva, you're telling me your whole mission in business is to bring people back around the dinner table? Well, when she saw those two dots being connected, because we're all too close to our own stories, she burst into happy tears over the phone. We crafted that into a story. And this is one of we all make mistakes. I kick myself to this day not saving her voicemail message. And she said, oh my God, Jeffrey, I've spoken for years. I tried out the story. And this is the first time this ever happened. I got my first standing ovation, and I doubled my book sales because of the signature story, the origin, the why I do what I do story.
Yeah.
And so what I love doing with our clients is helping them connect the dots, the key moments in their life. It's not meant to be a resume, it's not your memoir, but it's key moments where everything changes for you.
Well, this is where, when you were giving me advice for my TEDx talk, I was trying to figure out different ways, how should I best open, and you have these different choices. And I know you said, hey, Steve, you know what? I think you should just open with your origin story in this way. And I'm going to actually play the first 2.5 minutes of my TEDx talk where I just open with a story. And we'll talk about it because there's a little technique you also gave me here that I'll share. When I was a college student many moons ago in Davidson, North Carolina, my resident advisor, Rob, came to me and he said, Steve, did I ever tell you about the great summer job that I had? I said, no. He said it was really wonderful. I got to work in marketing for this great publishing company. In fact, it paid really well. And the guy who hired me is coming to campus, and he's going to be interviewing students, and I really want to invite you to hear about this. Maybe you can get a job. I was really flattered. And because of my respect for Rob, I went to the interview. It was marketing. It was publishing, all right. It was selling books door to door. Now, I took a look at that, and I did what any reasonable college student would do. I signed up. I signed up to sell children's books, 80 hours a week, straight commission. My dad and my mom, they freaked out. My dad was a corporate attorney, and he knew that, look, I had never sold anything. I didn't have a charismatic bone in my body. I was just a nice kid who liked to eat Pop-Tarts. But flash forward, the big day arrives, 7:42 a.m., I'm in Rob's car, we're driving out to the neighborhood to begin knocking doors. My heart is racing, I've got a gigantic lump in my throat. I remember looking down at my khaki shorts and my knees are literally shaking. And he's like, Steve, any last minute stuff I can do for you? I'm like, yeah, don't let me out of this car. Next thing I know, I'm standing on a sidewalk in the suburb of Lincoln, Nebraska. I just see house after house, door after door. I remember staring at the first door, waiting for the right psychological moment to knock. Now, before I tell you what happened, I have a question for you. Whose door should you be knocking on? Who do you want to say yes to you? Now, that actually, opened there with a story. And that idea, I continue to tell that story. I come back to it, which is always risky, and sometimes we don't recommend. But in your case, I think I was trying to figure out, I had these different things I wanted to say, and you said, hey, in that moment, why don't you freeze and then freeze in that dramatic moment, and then say...
It's the cliffhanger moment.
Yeah.
So the point, there's so many things that stories do. One is immediately engages, because there's science behind storytelling. And again, it's the oldest thing we humans do. It engages a part of our brain that is so old that you can't resist it, especially when you're painting pictures. So when you go to knock on the door, that little gesture which you and I worked out together. So what you did there is something I consider sophisticated, which is to pause the story at a critical moment. A lot of people, I don't let them do that if they're just getting going. So you did the rest of your TEDx talk and brought that back later. Mm-hmm. And so, because people are now like, well, what happened? Right now, stories need dramatic tension, right? Yeah. We need the opposing forces. So you're the hero of the story, but what are the opposing forces for you? It's fear, trying to make the first sale, parents going, oh my God, what's he doing? Starting to try, these are all the opposing forces. So there's suspense. So the audience is on the edge of their seat. I was watching the audience. Not one person checking their cell phone during a story. Never happens.
It's true. It's true. And in that talk, I mean, I think I ended up sharing at least, 4 different stories. And you've helped me tremendously to think through, how best to do that. And so one of the things we promised is 5 tips for people on how they can be better storytellers. And, I realized we were putting this together. Oh, yeah, we've got it. So I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, tapping your brain. What are some things that you've learned about in coaching so many people on how to speak, how to present, how to get TEDx talks, how they can be better storytellers? What are some things?
The first one is going to sound very simple, but I've seen it time and time again. The first thing needed is permission. Many people have struggled, and many people deal with the shame of that struggle. What I know from the hundreds, now thousands of concepts about storytelling is the first thing they want to know is, does my story matter? And they hear from me is, yes, it does, and frankly, it needs to be heard in the right way, in the right way. So number 1 is permission. Number 2, I don't have any stories to tell. I hear all the time, really? If you've lived past 2 years old, you already have hundreds. The matter is selecting which stories to tell. So the second thing is identify key events in your life, both personally and professionally. So number 1 is permission. Number 2 is you start your story list of key events. Number 3 is you definitely want to develop what I call your origin story. I also call it the why I do what I do story. That's the next thing, to really develop that as a story. And then 2 of my favorite techniques I teach my clients. 1 is the power of epiphanies and aha moments. And the other is descriptive language that brings things to life, like you did as you went to knock on that door. So there's a lot of other things I teach, but those would be 5 keys right off the bat to how to become a better storyteller.
Talk about an epiphany.
Epiphany is an aha moment. So if you think what an epiphany is, it's a form of light coming out of darkness. So a great story is not going to be an anecdote where this crazy thing happened to me today. That's not a story. Some people call it a story, but it's not, in my opinion. That's an anecdote. A story is a story of transformation. And if you are in the business of giving a transformation to people, one way or another, your clients, the message you're trying to get out there, then a transformation by nature is going to go from dark to light. In between the darkness and the light is you had a realization of some kind. You had a turnaround, a pivot, a light bulb going off, maybe more than one. And in most cases, we who have gone through dark times, and who doesn't by the time you get to a certain age, if you've gone through dark times of your own, and now you're teaching or coaching or speaking to others about that very same thing, that's what your story should focus in on. I've been there too. I love the phrase that when you tell your story, the goal is that the listener thinks to themselves, me too. That's what storytelling does. The science of storytelling is mirroring and neural coupling in the brain. All these things that are forming this common bond. My brain is trying to jump into your story unassisted. Just let it happen and allow that to be. And that's what storytelling can do.
I love it. And let's also share some keys to deliver a TED-style talk. We've talked about a number of them already. But let's talk about one thing we were mentioning a little bit, the opening.
The opening is critical. How do you open? You got to open the first minute. First minute counts.
Now you worked with Ikumi, I remember, who is a science illustrator. And
Ikumi Kayama, yes.
And she's, I think, really self-described introvert.
Yep.
And yet, she was in our family program, and she ended up getting booked because we teach people how to speak and how to land speaking gigs. She ended up getting booked at the Foggy Bottom TEDx event. You was at George Washington. You're an alum of George Washington.
I am an alum at George Washington University.
And she represented you very well.
She did.
Because I think I'm going to play just a minute of her opening. And I just thought it really did a great job. It was very authentic.
Very great job. Watch how an introvert begins her TEDx talk.
Yes.
And when I talk about what I do for a living, I get a lot of, you draw dead things, right?
I love that opening. It's like the Sixth Sense. I see dead people.
Exactly right. So it turns out she's a medical illustrator. If she had started a talk with, I'm a medical illustrator, we're going to close down. But charmingly, she said, I draw dead things. And she continued to probe that a little bit. Then within the first minute, she revealed that this is the work she does in a charming and delightful way. So it was a compelling talk all the way through. And by the way, a 6-minute talk, and which was rich. It did the trick and has since led to her doing conferences and getting deals and all sorts of stuff going on.
Which I think is a really good point, too, about the humor is something I know that you talk a lot about in working with the clients.
Yeah, well, observing some of the most watched TED Talks like Sir Ken Robinson and Bren Brown and others, humor, I believe, is an essential reason why there are tens of millions of views on them. They're teaching and they're doing some important work, but they're, I call it natural humor, almost self-deprecating humor, laughing at one's foibles, not at oneself. So one of my clients, Sarah Brown, she had already done a TEDx talk previously, and she came to me to say, I really want to make my second one. I want to do a second one. I want to make it much stronger. Ended up doing a talk titled, What My Job Taught Me About Finding a Romantic Relationship. And as we worked on the talk together, she's quietly very funny, but it wasn't really coming out. And it became hysterical, how she's on a plane and reading this want ad done by some guy, and she's like, I'm going to show him, and she had the audience really laughing a lot. And she said what it did for her, she wrote me afterward, and she says, this was my personal best. And to help me bring out my natural humor that laughed at myself in the situation, made it the most engaging talk of the day, really.
Yeah, I think everybody listening, you can be funnier than you are, but part of it, as you said, that word authenticity, helping them find...
It's not joke telling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we also hear, to think about this is not a lecture. I know you're big on bringing in dramatic elements to it. So, for example, when you were working with Vincent James, he gave a talk, but he's also a musician. He's written songs, and a lot of people don't realize at a TEDx event you can perform music. It doesn't have to just be speaking. He did both, and it sounds like I think anything you can do to be dramatic in keeping with the topic.
Exactly, tying into the topic. There's a point to it, even in the entertaining aspect.
Yeah.
And he writes love songs.
And in fact, he's even the founder of Kids Music Day, and after years of trying, he's getting major celebrities to get behind, to be ambassadors for Kids Music Day, and he got Julie Andrews.
Yes, he did.
But again, part of that is he's able to go to them and say, look, here's this TEDx talk where I was talking about the power of music, and it really opens doors when you add this to your toolkit. Here's one of our clients, Ronnie Sampucci, and what would you say is a kind of a lesson from her, in your work with her?
Yeah, we worked on her TEDx talk is your body image holding you back? She's actually a very famous fashion designer in the wedding industry, and she wanted to talk about body image, and we got her accepted. And then she started getting feedback from the curating team with the organizers saying, it's way too much of your story. The whole TED Talk should not be it's got to be a whole bunch of stuff. So she and I got to work, and we balanced it. But she really wanted to work with me, and she actually flew into Philadelphia, and we got together. We also did some work on video Skype about how to move on the stage and how to use the power of gesture. And even once in a talk, a pause in the right moment. How to turn, how to endow your words with meaning. And even toward the end of her talk, she has this teaching tool about how she walked through her house and gave herself affirmations. And she did this every morning in front of a mirror. And I had her act out that there was an invisible mirror on stage. So that's tip number 6 of storytelling, is you could do what I call a gentle miming to bring the story to life. And so using her body and her voice and pauses and endowing words really, she would say, made her TEDx talk fly.
And you're sharing these techniques, and I think it's helpful to come on a training call like this and learn these things. I know for me, it's helpful to know them, but the only way that I really get the clarity on actually putting in place is to get that back and forth feedback of getting your coaching. And whether we're talking about a TEDx talk or just frankly a TED style talk, I mean, every author, speaker, entrepreneur should have a great 10-minute TED style talk. And the reason is it helps you discover the core of your message and your brand. And they even launch that next, give you more clarity on what your core message is. We find there's really no better tool to get speaking and generate sales than a great video. You'll be able to show that to meeting planners. They want to see, in this day and age of TED Talks and YouTube, they want to see how you come across. And you'll be invited to speak at more conferences where you can show them a really good video of yourself in a professional environment, speaking and sharing your core message in the TED style way. More and more organizations want people to be able to give a TED style talk because they know when you can do that, you can do an hour, you can do half a day. They know what it takes to be able to boil things down. And what I have found, just from personal experience, from being in this business now for over 30 years, working with clients, is don't try to do this alone. You need to have two things. You need to have a coach, and you need to have a community. I mean, that's the only way I was able to give an effective TEDx talk, is just getting feedback from Jeffrey, who's able to. I'm so close to what I'm talking about. I'm so passionate. And the other piece of it too is the community. We do group calls, and I remember giving my talk on a teleseminar environment, and people just listened. I was reading the script, and I got to say, there were things I was just not sure were any good, and the fact that people listening to me could say, I really liked that acronym, and I really liked that story of your dad. Now I knew what to leave in, because I had to edit certain things, but it's that back and forth. Even the title for my talk, I was originally going to call it, I was absolutely convinced, everybody was telling me, you should say Selling is Love. That should be the title. That's what I originally proposed. But when I got feedback, from people that weren't so close to it, who hadn't heard me speak before, I was realizing I was losing some people. They were fighting me on it. They're like, selling isn't love. So we went with a different title, How to Sell Without Selling Your Soul. So what I've seen in my business and with my clients is having a TEDx talk or a TED style talk can change everything. It can establish your credibility, get people to discover you on Google, make your message go viral, start a ripple effect, create a mass movement. For some people, it can actually bring you a book deal or increase your book sales, spark more speaking engagements, lead to more publicity, generate more income and impact, get more people to buy from you, and get more people to do what you teach. You want to change more people's lives and leave a legacy. I tell you, to me, it's so gratifying to know that, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, my TEDx talk will be there and will continue to inspire people and teach people things that to me are really, really important things that I learned. And we call that being an unforgettable speaker. And that's why we actually teach people how to put the pieces together and how to get on TEDx stages, or frankly any stage that you want. And Jeffrey is our head coach for the Unforgettable Speaker Training Program. Jeffrey and my coaches cannot work with everybody. There's a lot of one-on-one time, a lot of back and forth feedback. So we are very limited. We don't take everybody. But here's the good news. You do not have to be a number one expert in your field. You don't have to have published a book. We work with a lot of authors. You don't have to be a professional speaker. We work with a lot of professional speakers, but we also work with people who are brand new. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to be famous. Now, again, we work with a lot of PhDs and we work with people who are famous. But you don't have to do, for us to decide to work with you, you don't have to have that, but you do need to be a credible speaker who is open to feedback. So you've got to have something that gives you credibility, right? Because why is it that that Ted or anybody would believe you. It might be because you've done research, or you've got something that maybe you've been speaking about the topic, you're working on a book, or you have a book, but you've got to have something, the life experience to make you credible. And then open to feedback. It's amazing. That is something, if you're not open, we can't help you. If you've got all the answers. But the other thing is, you've got to be passionate about your topic. At least on a scale of 1 to 10, you've got to be at least a 9. And you have to have a message that could help people. And whether we're talking about TEDx, what you're going to find is that what you learn from us, you're actually going to learn how to get paid very well to speak at conferences around the world. Because these things about storytelling and what we're going to teach you about, frankly, marketing yourself as a speaker, and where do you find gigs, and not just TEDx events, but how do you get booked at associations, at universities? How do you get booked at major conferences? How do you become a keynote speaker? All of this is going to be available to you in our Unforgettable Speaker training online. You can actually listen to Jeffrey. He has these very short audios with a little worksheet. He takes you through step by step how to get a TEDx talk. We share with you, we've got videos and audios. You just can follow the steps on how best to position yourself as a speaker who gets paid very well to speak. And this is part of our program. Typically, when we just look at what we've sold this for in the past, we would typically charge $29.97 just for the online training. And you'll have lifetime access to the online course. It's there 24/7 for you. What we find is knowledge is really useful. Support is essential. And we provide support in a couple different ways. One is, in addition to the online training, you're going to get 12 months of live group coaching. And we would typically charge $4,000 if we were just selling that separately. So you could see the value just so far, $69.97. But we want you to actually have one-on-one time. And that is so important because, again, the back and forth aspect of this, to have somebody take a look at what you're working on. Jeff, give an idea when we talk about just the one-on-one. What are some of the things you do when you're working with people one-on-one? The reason I ask is because in this package, they're going to get 8 hours of personalized coaching with you or one of our coaches. But when you work with people, what is it that you typically focus on? Give an idea of some of the different things.
Yeah, we definitely always work on your stories, your signature stories, other key messaging around your stories or your speaking. In many cases, people want me to review existing talks and how we can make it better. A lot of people want to practice something. We do that on phone or through video, Zoom, or Skype, or something like that, or in person. Definitely how to apply for TEDx. That's an ongoing one-on-one situation. After landing a TEDx, they want to work with me to refine the talk and even practice the talk. Where to get speaking gigs locally and then nationally. I also typically review what they're saying on their websites. Do they have a speaking page on their website? And even how to access the power of publicity to get more speaking gigs and grow your business. That's just a start.
Yeah, and really, I know you hold people's hand through this whole process of looking at their 2-minute video, their applications. Sometimes people like you as both the cheerleader and sometimes the accountability person to kind of make sure that they
definitely the cheerleader, especially because it's sometimes even the most credentialed speaker, they tend to get a little nervous. It's normal, and they just want somebody in their court saying, "Yeah, it's great, go do it." and definitely tips of the trade. Things like be early to the talk and scope out the room. Maybe hang out in the lobby and talk to some of the people coming in. There's all these little tricks of the trade which are fun to talk about. I've come up with ideas of how to get a free booth when you've been asked to do a talk already. Manning that booth and having certain gimmicks that grow your mailing list. So there's all sorts of stuff. We talk about the business behind doing speaking.
Yeah.
A lot of brainstorming about that.
Yeah, and most people have never had anyone look at how they present themselves. And I know we've had professional speakers who they realize, look, I need a mirror, I need notes, I need somebody to share with me. You're so good at looking, whether it's on video or face-to-face, how are they standing? How are they saying things? Tone of voice, How are they branding themselves? All
What
these
fees to charge, what to negotiate for if you can't get your fee,
how to ask for the money,
how to leverage free speaking in order to get paid speaking.
right, and how to have the whole conversation about the fee and what to charge. So these are all things that you're going to be able to get answered and get that guidance. And this is, again, why this package is so valuable. You see here it's a total value of $11,997. And, as we like to say in my little commercial here, wait, there's more, right? We've seen working with the clients, what if I invited you to speak on my stage? Okay, imagine if you could have a video speaking on my stage, and it was you giving a 10-minute talk, and this would now give you a gig. So here's one of the things we've realized. If you have a gig, you're going to make this change and make this transformation. So what we do is a couple times a year, we do a speaker showcase. And that's where Jeffrey will get you ready, and you'll have a date, and you'll know that you will be speaking in Philadelphia on my stage and give a 10-minute talk. And we're going to professionally video this, so you will now have a video you can put on YouTube. This is tremendous practice for Tedx, because a lot of our folks end up giving Tedx talks as a result. But for you to have a professional 10-minute video is really a key thing you need to be able to get paid $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 to speak. And you'll have a photo, you'll have a video, and I'll tell you something else you'll get in a minute. So you're going to get a speaker photo. You're also going to get a professional video of your talk, and people charge $5,000 just for that. And you're going to get video testimonials. You're going to have people because you're going to be in front of a live audience for our speaker showcase, and we're going to have a number of people go to a camera at the end of the talk and say what they liked about your video. So do you have video testimonials of people who are talking about you as a speaker? This is priceless. And so you can see the total value here. And in fact, to give you a sense of just what one of those video testimonials might look like, I'm going to share with you, this is a video, Kate Kirkwood. She's actually giving a video testimonial of the Unforgettable Speaker Training, which we're showing you here, and working with Jeffrey. And imagine having someone like this just talk about you in the talk, because she's at our Speaker Showcase event. You can see it in the background. And here's a little 1-minute clip of what she said.
My name is Kate Kirkwood. I've been a college business professor for most of my life. Spent the last decade and a half working in childhood lead poisoning prevention. I've written a couple of books, and I talk about this all the time. But in the last few months, I've been able to work with Jeffrey and the team on the Unforgettable Speaker Training Program, and it has totally fine-tuned and just enhanced everything that I've done. Now I know some things about the presentation skills that I didn't know before, and with their help I was able to land a TEDx talk. I am just so excited. This has been a great program.
And she really nailed her TEDx talk, and she's a good example of somebody who she could have said, well, I have so much experience, I don't need any coaching or training, but she's been successful because she knows the value. Also, there's one more priceless tool, and I was really excited to hear that you had developed this, Jeffrey, because what we both know is there are thousands of TEDx organizers. But one of the questions people ask is, which one should you contact? Well, after you've been in the Unforgettable Speaker Program for 45 days, what we're going to do is we're going to send you our preferred list of over 100 TEDx organizers who take applications. And Jeffrey has been studiously, looking at different
Painstakingly,
yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yes, painstakingly putting this together, and this will be really helpful for you to know who should you be applying to. How can you? There's thousands and thousands of organizations. Having a list of organizers that take applications. Unlike the ones who are just invitation only, and who book speakers, will shorten the curve big time. So all of this totals up, as you see here, to a lot, okay? Now, in the past, we have sold programs like this for $49.97. And we were thinking, well, you know what? We're starting a new class. Let's just get a new group going here right from this webinar. Let's give a discount. And so we decided to offer it for this. And then we said, well, you know, let's be a little crazy. Let's just make this a total no-brainer, because a lot of times we find that when people take advantage of this program, they end up buying other things that we do. And so you're watching this webinar right now. We've decided for Unforgettable Speaker Training to give an unforgettable discount. And that is that when you enroll now, you'll get everything I described for just $29.97. That's everything I described. That's the 8 hours with Jeffrey, or one of our coaches. You'll get, he's going to do a get acquainted call with everybody just to get you rolling, and he'll be doing the group trainings. You're going to get the online trainings. You're going to get the speaker showcase, the video, the picture of you on a stage speaking, the testimonials, everything. And this, frankly, one paid talk more than pays for this. In fact, here's a testimony we got, and his name is Paul Angone, and he said, you know, the many insightful practical training modules and the one-on-one coaching helped me produce more lucrative speaking opportunities faster than I previously believed possible. I even landed one keynote that has paid for my investment in this program many times over. Now, how many years are you going to be doing this work as a speaker? Clearly, this is just an investment that can pay again and again, many years to come. Now, you want to lock in now, and you can use everything when you're ready. This is a very special discount that we're offering, and you can lock in now. And then, you know, even if you're going on vacation, you're not ready to start working with Jeffrey and our team, maybe for a couple weeks or so, no problem. You know, we'll be here when you're ready, but you definitely want to take advantage of this now while it's available. It could be a tax-deductible business expense, and the key, though, to go and to take advantage of this is to click the link on this page to enroll now. In fact, when you go and you enroll, we always like to give people an incentive to take action, to do what's in their best interest. So if you enroll in the next 90 minutes, you're going to receive an extra special bonus. And I don't even know if you knew I was going to do this, Jeffrey, but when they enroll, they're going to get 4 extra hours. What? This is an outrage. How come I can't buy this? I don't even want to spend 4 hours with me. They're going to get 4 extra hours of one-on-one consulting with you, and this is, you know, in addition to the 8 hours of one-on-one coaching that they get with you, one of our speaking coaches. So we'll start a little timer here for 90 minutes. Go and enroll now. You get the extra hours with Jeffrey. You'll get everything I described. And we look forward to having you on one of our webinars and showing the picture of you on the stage and hearing about your success and the difference that you're making. Thanks for joining us. Jeffrey, hey, this has been a lot of fun.
Well, I better clear my calendar. It's been fun, Steve. Thanks a lot.
All right. All the best. Take care and take action.